The following test of the things we think say or do. First,
is it true?
Second,
Care or concern
third,
whether you will well relationships
and fourth.
with beneficial or concern.
Please be seated. The rotary song. Introduction of this Rotarian. Nathaniel Luke, please.
Hi there, good afternoon everyone. We have three distinguished guests with us here today. First is welcome William from 台中中心社林昌平先生。And he was a friend, Jess's friend, 06周先生 Roy. Welcome to us. And we have today's speaker, who's a friend of Cornell. Let us welcome Mr. 古特马西亚斯。Sorry for my pronunciation. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Lou. We'll sing the Distinct Rotarian song for the Distinct Rotarian. 林昌平先生，有请吧。
Yes, all Rotary Christian. Oh, yes, all Rotary Christian. We want you to feel our friendship is true. We are glad you are here today. So hey, come be your chief. We got from all the fellows here. And when once more you are near our Lord, come again, Rotarian, come again.
So welcome, William. Thank you, Keith. Next, our President Tan.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's the end of April, nearly the end of spring, and the end of my presidency. Right? It's the Chinese poetry time. Today I want to share a poem by Wang Guowei. It's a 今年花市翠翠阔. I mean this year's flower season is near the end. 明岁花开更应朵，朵就是垂下，就明年的花开的会更多。It means in fact the flower season next year will be much better than this year. 看花中古少年事，flower viewing eventually belong to the young generation, the young people. And 只恐少年非属我 I'm so afraid I'm not younger anymore. But 劝君莫厌尊累大 because I advise you don't contempt the big size of the wine glass. Because you are so drunk, you can lie down beneath the flower. That's so romantic. And so, 君看今年树头花 You see the flower on the tree of this year, but isn't the same as this year. So it means that you should cherish or you should hold the time you have. Don't let the time pass away from your hand. 所以只恐少年非属我 那我们引申到下一首诗 ，next。万木沉酣新雨后，百仓苏醒晓风前。That means all the plants when the spring rains comes, they will be awake from the hibernation, and all the green will be awake by the vernal, by the spring wind. That means when the spring comes, everything got so the flourish. 四时可爱为春日。The fourth season, the most lovely one is the spring. So 一世能狂变少年。If you have the dream, you have the hope, and you can be stuck to it and crazy for that. No matter how old you are, you will be young again. So 虽然前面讲唯恐少年非属我。但是如果一世你能够狂的话，你变少年。所以我们看这个 Robbie 有那么多的兴趣，还会骑车，还会摄影、打球，然后还会玩桥牌，而且是4人桥所以你可以看到，他即使大病初愈，可是 always 感觉很年轻。So I want to dedicate this to point to kids. If you have a dream, you get crazy for that. You will be always, a young boy. Okay, thank you.
And now it's my time. So next week our regular meeting will be held on second floor of this hotel. Second floor, not the basement, not third floor, but second floor. And second of all, remember we had our dessert, the grass jelly, last Thursday for dessert. 仙草. It's handmade from 蜀米. For you? Okay, sorry about that. Okay. And now it's about Jimmy.
There's something I wanted to announce. This year, we're gonna give a very big thanks to Jimmy. She's so generous, and this year she donated the Paul Harris donation for our club. I think fire owe you a lot. Fire. Next year's our global friends. There's no problem for that. So let us give Jimmy a big hand. Thank you, Jimmy.
And next, I see let's welcome, let's invite Cornell to come to introduce our speaker today.
I don't know where I should stand. It's so nice. Like today, I can have such a young, handsome, and tall man to be our speaker. Yes. I don't know any problems. No. Our speaker. He spent, I think, about 8 years in Japan. He got his PhD there from University of Tokyo, the best school in Japan. And right now he is teaching in逢甲University, the School of Architecture. Sorry. And his specialty is a very interesting subject. It is called Waterhouse. Actually, I'm very interested in that subject. I hope that we still have the honor to have you back to talk about your profession and your specialty in architecture. And today he is going to share wonderful stories about his country, Hungary. I think very few people really understand the Hungarian culture and their holidays or whatsoever. And so today it's a great time to listen to this wonderful speech. So let's welcome Dr. Lukai and Matthias. Is that right?
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a really honor to be here. It's really nice to meet you all and to be distinguished company. First, please let me introduce myself. My name is Matthias Lukai. I'm from Hungary. It's a very small country in Europe. Actually, it's like almost the same, a little even smaller than Taiwan, and with half of the population. So we are just very few people around. But actually, it is one of the oldest one of the oldest countries in Europe ever. Like you can see, Hungary is over there. This is Europe, and most of this is European Union. Hungary is actually about 1,000 years old. Our history is pretty long. Most of the countries in Europe are much younger than that. The reason for that is actually comes from the name. I know many people always asking me if I'm hungry, and that's actually correct. We love to eat, and we enjoy food, and we are very proud of our cuisine. I think maybe Taiwanese are too, for a good reason. But actually the name Hungary, it comes from our history. It comes from the people of Huns. Huns was a large empire in the Roman times, about 1,700 years ago. That was 600, 700 years ago. And the Hun was a large empire from Asia until the Roman Empire. And their leader was Attila. And actually the empire united many tribes, many different people all around the region. And Hungarians were part of the empire, it is believed. And that's how actually our name is coming from. Actually Hungarians don't call themselves Hungarians. It's only an English translation. We call ourselves Magyars, and we call our country Magyar Ország, which means Hungarian country. But everyone in Europe and the first written books about Hungarian people, they introduced us as Huns, so that's why the name is coming from. Hungarian is actually has its own language. So we call the language also Magyar. In English it's Hungarian. It is actually a quite rare language for several reasons. One is because its grammar. It's one of the oldest. Maybe it's interesting. Like for example, if you analyze a language, one of the important way how linguists distinguish languages, there are actually 3 types of languages in the world. And depending on the pronoun and the noun relationship. Like for example, in English or most of the Latin languages, or most of the languages, you put the pronoun before the noun. Like you say, I am coming from Budapest or from Hungary. In languages like Japanese, for example, that's another type. You put behind, Hungary, I came. And there are only very, very few languages, and one of the most powerful one. It was actually the first union in Europe. It was united with Austria, the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Maybe you heard of it. And it was after the World War, it was cut into pieces. And Hungary was part of Soviet Union and the Soviet bloc. And this was actually something was very difficult for us, because when we talk about Hungarian people,
They are very crazy about food and enjoying life, but they're also very important for us is the values of freedom. It's deeply embedded in our culture. Hungary was the first nation in Europe where the first law was implemented for religious freedom. It was the Torda law in the country, and it stipulated that every village has the right to choose its own religion, and it has a completely free to do that. That was actually something very big, and that law was 200 years ago. It's actually one of the first in Western countries. Maybe you heard in Hungary because it was recent, not so long time ago. Also because freedoms and values are so important for us, we had a lot of revolution for freedom, and one was in 1956 when the people in Budapest rise against Soviet Union to become for freedom. And it's a small city of 2 million people. At that time it was even smaller, like 1.5. And of course the whole Russia sent the army to oppress, and the fight even with that went on for 2 weeks. And actually it was a very famous moment. And even today it is believed that the reason why Soviet Union started to collapse was actually one of the reasons was the 1956 revolution in Budapest. It was actually one of the most interesting achievements of that after the revolution, it was in November, Times magazine, probably you heard of the magazine, they choose the man of the year every year. In 1956 they choose the Hungarian freedom fighters as the man of the year to commemorate or celebrate that achievement. So I thought I put a few pictures about Hungary. This is Budapest. Budapest consists of 2 parts, Buda and Pest, and it's cut into halves by the Danube River. We have many bridges, of course, to connect. Pest is flat. This is Pest area. It's a kind of new city. It's like 150 years old, so it's relatively young. Buda is the old historical city with the castle. Pest has our modern infrastructure and modern buildings, like this is the parliament. It's actually famous for many stories. One is that it was under renovation for 50 years, which Budapest people always make jokes about that all the time. But also because, for example, when Freddie Mercury came to Budapest for concert with Queen, the band, maybe you know, actually he liked the building so much that he wanted to buy it from the government, but in the end he couldn't make it. This is Buda, the historical castle. This was the Middle Age and different periods, and the church. As you can see in Budapest, almost everything is about the Danube River and about our nature and connected to it. Hungarian culture is also very interesting because it's not just about capital, 2 different pieces like Buda and Pest. This kind of duality is very typical for Hungarians, also when it comes to our architecture. For example, we have architects like Marcel Breuer. I don't know, maybe you heard of him. He was like a very strong key figure of architectural modernism and Bauhaus, and he also lived in the United States in the end. He was actually born in Hungary, but he was a very international figure of design and architecture. And on the other hand, we have architects like Imre Makovec, who almost never left the country, Hungary, and he was specifically working in Hungary and making very organic, very anti-modern architecture and teaching his style. So this kind of duality is very typical for us, I guess probably because we are Asian, because in Europe this is not normal, or it's not typical, and sometimes people have a difficult time to understand it, at least for Westerners. But actually one of the most interesting stories, of course, I told you that we are very proud and we very love our food very much. And this is actually something important because it relates also something that we are very proud of. Hungarians actually have one of the highest number of Nobel Prize holders per inhabitants. Of course, we are not a rich country, and our population is very low, so as number of Nobel Prizes, we don't have many. But if you compare with population, we actually have among the highest. And I wrote the story of one of them, Saint György. He's a doctor. He was a doctor in medicine in the 20th century. And actually, there is a good and very typical Hungarian story because he was also a professor, and actually we have a very typical Hungarian food, vegetable, which it's called paprika. It is something we brought from Asia with us. And actually, the story what made St. Georgi to invent something that gave him the Nobel Prize was his wife. Because she was always making him sandwiches, and she was always making paprika sandwiches because it's very healthy. But he hated paprika, and he was afraid to tell this to his wife. So actually, but he was a doctor, so actually what he started to do is he started to take out the paprika from the sandwiches, and he started to make experiment in the medical lab. How can he use the paprika for another purpose except of eating? And that's how actually he found ascorbic acid, and he invented vitamin C, which gave him the Nobel Prize. So actually we always have a passion of food, and we always have a passion about innovation. And actually I am from Kecskemét. This is our town hall. It's a small city in the middle of the country. It has a weather a bit similar to Taichung. We have a lot of sun, but it's not so humid as here. And I studied in Budapest. This is one of our oldest university, the Technical University of Budapest. I studied architecture there, and after that I went to Japan, where I did my second degree at the University of Tokyo, and I was actually working on sustainability as a PhD and also as a postdoc research fellow. And actually what I wanted to talk about a few more minutes is the work I am doing here. I was doing in Japan, and I am doing here in Taiwan at逢甲University, and also on private projects because I am also a practicing architect. And it is about water house. Water house is a very simple idea about sustainability. When you want to be sustainable and you want to save energy, of course you want to be responsible towards nature, towards environment. You don't want to produce pollution. You want to, but also at the same time, what is important, you also want to get some quality, and you want to have some extra comfort. You want to achieve something special. And that is actually something very challenging because sustainability expects you to be responsible, but also it expects you to give up things in order to achieve that. Water house, the system we invented in Japan and we're working on here, is actually a solution that gives you both. So you don't have to give up things. You can have a higher comfort, but also you can actually save energy and be responsible towards the environment. So actually, it feels good in two ways at the same time. I actually have a video that I want to show you. I hope I can. Let's see if it works. Which explains the story.
Architecture is based upon the misconception that strong is stable, unchanging in time. Real stability, however, comes with responsibility. If we were able to build houses with the capacity to react to any change in terms of both structure and energy, stability and energy efficiency can be assured. In this case, any effect, structural or local thermal load, would create an immediate affect, a response of the structure. Energy and weight could be counteracted, and on a total scale, change would not occur. This is practically real or temporal stability, an unchanging state, which classical strong structures are incapable of by their nature. The questions remain, however, how does this system work, and in what ways is it superior to other types of building? Classic structures can be built of heavy materials like brick or concrete. Unlike light structures, they're more expensive to build, but have good heat storage capacity. This property is crucial for good indoor climate and comfort. In contrast, water is a superb distributor. It collects and moves heat rapidly, meaning that 100% of the water layer can be utilised. Because of this, an all-water panel, even using just a thin water layer, is equal to a thick brick or concrete wall when it comes to heat mass. Additionally, water enters the structure only at the end of construction. This makes all water panels easy to build. Light during construction, heavy while in operation. That makes all water panel the first structure which combines the advantages of both heavy and light construction at the same time. Water is also excellent material for heat storage. Now, consider that the water volumes throughout the entire structure are connected. So, for any local heat gain or loss, the total water volume is reacting. Therefore, the thermal mass is significantly higher than any other structure. You can have a comfortable, ideal microclimate, where air and surface temperatures are perfectly maintained in an easy and effective way. All-water panel also saves you energy. This means that, for heating, if compared with a conventional house with gas heating, where energy is 100% and saving is 0%, or a gas plus geothermal heating system, which saves about 20%, energy costs drop to 80%. All-water panel, in combination with either geothermal or solar energy, can supply the complete energy needs of the building. Available in both opaque and transparent forms, all-water panel is the first transparent structure with significant heat mass. No cooling down in winter or heating up in summer. Energy saving without compromising microclimate. All-water panel not only collects heat, it also transports it effectively. Therefore, its fire resistance is much higher than conventional structures. This goes for transparent panels as well, assuring transparent structures with real significant fire resistance. All-water panel is a real multifunctional element introduced to building practice. Unlike classic architecture, where for any purpose we just add a new element, we make walls, insulation, mechanical installation, finish, technical control, solar panels, etc. All-water panel gives you all.
So this is basically just a very simple introduction, and there is another video that I was hoping to show you about how actually it does look like, because we built one building. Let's see. Just a moment.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So here you can see actually how it looks. Basically the idea is that you have water everywhere, and it's all around you. That's why we call it a water system. And the water is kept on a perfect ideal temperature, so it cools the space, heats the space, whatever you need. And the basic idea, you can see water is in the glass, in the wall, in the floor, in the ceiling. Because the most important is when it comes to comfort, and when it comes to a perfect indoor environment, such as this one, it's actually not about the air, it's about the surfaces that surround you. And it's about radiation of the ceiling, the floor, and the wall, how it affects your body. And actually that's in order to have a perfect thermal comfort, in order to have for you a perfect space, you have to make sure that all of these surfaces are on the same temperature and exactly the temperature you need. And that's actually extremely difficult to achieve if you have solid materials. So actually, all this effort, all this complication, or all these difficulties that we face to do this is basically in order to have water in the system. The main idea is because water is perfectly balances everything. So you don't need to make an effort to keep the temperature, monitor the surfaces and everything, because water does all that job for you. All that you need is to put it in. Actually, it works like planet Earth. Like if you think of our planet, it has mass, like the soil. It has insulation, which is the air, which are the air layers around it. And you have water, oceans, that actually spread the temperature on the globe. The thing is that the planet Earth is very big, so it takes a long time to do it. But actually on a scale of a year, it works pretty well. In case of a water house, it actually exactly the same thing happens, but since a house is much smaller than a planet, it just takes seconds, so it's really efficient. This building that you see here is an experimental house, so it's really, really small. The main purpose, no one is living in there. The purpose is to make experiments and to test the system. It was finished, it was completed like about a year ago, and we published it around the world. Basically the main idea was that what we are doing is we are testing the system for quite some time now, and actually we are constructing a new water house in Taiwan at Fengsha University this September. Maybe you heard that Fengsha is going to have a graduate school of architecture, and the opening is this autumn. And we are going to commemorate or to celebrate a very unique moment in Fengsha's history. We are going to build a new water house on campus in Florida, or Fengsha Night Market. I hope that maybe you can visit us and to see the building. I would be honored to show you personally. The way actually this building that you see here was built in Europe, because this is a version for European climate. So the winter is very cold, and the sun solar gains a bit less than here, of course. So actually your problem is heating and not cooling. And the building actually works in a way that it absorbs all the sun in the summer, and the water stores it for winter. So actually the sun you protect your building in the summer, and then you reheat it in the winter, so you save 2 times. You save energy on cooling, and you save energy when you are heating. So actually this is how the story works. I hope you found it interesting. For me, of course, it takes a long time. It took me 7 years to get here. And now I'm actually very excited to work at Fengsha on the next building, because now we are doing the opposite. This building was for heating, and now we are doing something for very hot climate and something for cooling. If you would like to read more about Waterhouse, you can actually read. There are many articles about my work, but maybe this one is the best. So you can actually read in this article about the whole story of Waterhouse and how the system works. And have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer. Thank you very much. I think my time is almost off. So thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed, and please let's have some questions. I'm happy to answer. After the lecture, I will have to leave because I have to get back. I'm sorry about that. But if you want to have any questions later, please contact me or please let me know. Cornell has my contact. I'm more than happy to keep in touch with you. Very nice to meet you. Thank you very much.
Is it more expensive to build a water house than using traditional materials?
Basically, it's a very good question. Obviously, the system is not cheap, like building an adobe house or like a vernacular traditional house. But basically, I think it's like what kind of quality are you looking for, and what are you comparing with. So, if you think about an eco house, a nice, modern, eco smart house, obviously that kind of building is more expensive than a traditional building. A water house is about the same price than that, but it offers you much more. So it's expensive compared to a traditional house, but it is also cheap compared to the buildings that you can get for the same money, because then you get much more.
And does it last long?
Sorry?
Does it last long, as long as the regular house?
Yes, it lasts long. Actually, the water that we use in the building is in a closed system, so it's not like you changing, or it's not in direct contact with nature, so you don't have freezing problems, you don't have algae or any other issues, of course. One of the reasons why it took so long, like 7 years to do it, because you have to test so many things and so many products to make sure that you get a product that you have a company, because now I'm having a company that is backing it up, a factory in Europe. I don't have a company yet in Asia. But they also, they have to give warranty, 10 years minimum for the building, and the building is expected to be much longer. So, of course, that was one of the reasons, because the factory had very serious questions and issues and tests. So to show that you have a serious product. Yes?
I'm sure the answer is obvious, but what keeps the water from freezing in the winter?
Yes, we actually mix the water with biological components to drop the freezing temperature below zero. So normally we always prepare a specific solvent depending on the location.
It's more like cooler using the radiator in the car. More like an antifreeze.
Yes, antifreeze would be an option, but you don't have transparent antifreeze. Like mostly they are have some color, and also the reason we didn't use antifreeze would be perfect, but we didn't use it because it pollutes the environment. So we wanted to use something that it doesn't pollute the water. So actually, the water you have in the building, you can release anytime. You don't pollute nature. Antifreeze actually, we started with antifreeze, but it's also polluting.
But the water is put inside the can when it's prefabricated. When it's installed, water is in there, or is it when it's installed and then you put water in?
Yes, first you put the panels in place. I have a series of images if you want to see, or I can send you later how actually it's constructed. It's an SIP system, a structure insulated panel, which means that you leave a level, you put on top of each other and structure everything you want. And in the end, when you're done, the water goes in. So actually the whole system is a closed loop connected structure, so to make sure that water can flow everywhere.
The water needs to circulate. When you keep it there, how do you keep it clean?
You keep the water in a closed loop. So it means that it's like keeping the water in a clean container. and never go out. You just have to make sure that the water doesn't get contact, it has no contact with nature or oxygen or anything. So just keep it closed down, sealed. So it's always in the same system. And of course the water you put in is clean. So instead of cleaning the water itself, you put the clean water in a closed system and you just make sure it's protected and you avoid pollution.
How can you keep it away from mildew?
Humidity. Actually, basically what we do is that the trick is, if you want to cool a building, like in the Evergreen Hotel, if you go to the lobby, they have a glass surface, and you always have water, when it's like, when you have aircon on, and there's high humidity, you have always water on the surface, which doesn't look very nice. That's something that all water can actually manage. The trick is that if you are cooling the air from a central source, you have to set it to a very low temperature, because you just have one small piece of the surface. But if you have all the surface doing the job, then a much higher temperature is still perfect for you. And like for example, our body requires like 26 or 26.5, it's perfectly fine. But the aircon is set to 24 or sometimes even lower to make sure that we are comfortable. But because it's one source. But if you have many sources, all the surfaces are set to 26.5, then you are comfortable, and then you don't need to go low. So this is actually one of the tricks, is that we keep a higher temperature on the surface, and then there is not a huge temperature difference between the outside and the inside in this case. We minimize that fact. And because of that, the glass itself doesn't become too cold to get the molding problem.
Any more questions?
Again, you can find my name here. Matthias Gutai, and if you have any questions, Gutai, if you have any questions, you can find me on Facebook or LinkedIn or anywhere. I'm more than happy to answer your questions. Thank you very much for today. It was really lovely to meet you. I hope you enjoyed it.
How about the sound? We know the sound can be transmitted water more faster than air. And this kind of water can be soundproof. The noise.
Actually, it has like about 20% higher noise resistance than because you know, like sound, water itself, it's very good question. The water itself transports sound quickly if you are in the same volume. So, like for example, like you are inside, we both are inside the water, I can hear you very well. But if you are outside and I am inside, then let's take a photo.
It's a photo. Yes.
One more. Sorry.
One more. Okay. Okay, please give the gift.
Thank you so much. That's so quick. Super professional. Thank you so much. Thank you. That's so great to meet you. Okay, keep in touch. Thank you.
The next attendance report, PPE role.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks to today's speaker, Matthias. Today we have 21 members attending the meeting and 1 BC Rotarians and 2 guests. So today we have 75% attendance rate. Thank you.
Further down, PPE.
Hello everyone. We have the 3 donations for today. The first one from our guest, William, 1,000. It's written a great speech. Thank you very much, William. And the second one from the Cornell. Thank you, Matthias,
for such an interesting speech to learn your culture and your specialty in Waterhouse. I would definitely visit your beautiful country one day, and hope there will be a lot of the Waterhouse built in Taiwan in the future. 2000, thank you very much. And I don't know, our president tried to written the poem in English or not, but although I got hungry a lot, but I know nothing about hungry. Thank you for your introduction about hungry. 2000, thank you.
Thank you, Markley. And last thing, tonight it's a charter ceremony for 大同社 in the same building at the 6 o'clock. So if you can attend, you're welcome. So we can join.
Okay, thank you for your coming. Thank you.
这声个大声来学落去，咱可能唔知安尼经验较无啦吼。去年哈，这中华文化举办嘛吼。